Well, hey there, this is Jerry, and I was getting started on another episode of What's Broke Today. And you may notice behind me is my 92 Dodge Dakota. And what happened is about probably at least 2 weeks ago, I was going to leave on Saturday morning. I come out and started the truck. Just opened the door, reach in, fired it up. It cranked a little bit, didn't fire up right away, which is not normal. But it did start, sounded okay. So I walked, opened the gate, come back from open the gate, I could smell gas. Looked under the truck, didn't see anything, so I reached in, popped the hood, thinking it might be something under the hood. When I got under the hood, I could still smell it, but it wasn't very strong. So I come around and was going to shut the truck off, and as I got back to the door, the closer I got to the fuel tank, the stronger the smell was. Didn't have time that day to really deal with it, so I just shut the truck off and drove something else. Sunday, I went out and just turned the key on and was looking underneath the truck and didn't see nothing dripping. Happened to look in the inside the wheel well here, and it was all wet. Well, it was gas. And this is a little line that comes off of the fuel tank going up to the front. And it may be really hard to see, but right there, right past where I cut the line, make sure I can turn the front screen on so I can see, but right there where that funny spot is in the line, when I put my glasses on and look at it real close, I'm going to guess that a mouse did that, because it looks like something went up there and took a bite out of the line. And it put just a tiny pinhole in it, but there's other marks on the line, but that one's the deepest right there. Was looking for, well, how do I fix this? Because this is a never been there, never done that kind of thing. So first place I started was YouTube, and it could very easily be how I typed things, how I did my search, but I didn't find anything dealing with, just fixing the line. I did find one on a newer Dakota where they make a kit to replace the entire lines. So I ended up going through the Google search and found that a place called Inline Tube sells a kit to replace the feed and the supply line. And I think it switches it all to this, I don't know, plastic poly line. I was thinking, I don't really want to spend that much money. I just want to fix this. And the first thing I started out was looking, for these fittings. And in my search, I come up with this kit from Dorman, 800-063 quick disconnect board. And I thought, well, it's worth looking into, because the clip that goes in this, that little horseshoe thing, is the same thing they used to use on Fords. So I bought the kit, and luckily I took a socket, and I think I threw that socket in my pocket. Because in the picture here it shows the little horseshoe clip like I took out. And I found this socket, and it's a Craftsman 6mm, and it is just the right size to fit inside that O-ring. And then a little spit on that. So I went up, and that fits, and I was checking how deep it goes in, and the depth is almost as much as I had before. And of course, the end that goes on the fuel pump module is 3/8. The hose is 5/16. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to hook this up. And that's where I ended up doing some more Google searching. And I come up with this Dorman goodie. It's a 800-191 5/16 nylon fuel line press fit union, where you can, there's O-rings in both sides and then barbs in there, so you can slide this on and then it locks. And then the little blue ring, if you squeeze it, well, you can take it apart. So what I was going to do is, because I cut this with side cutters, and I want a little better cut, so I got a razor blade. And I got my new piece, and I don't know how well this camera is going to work up in the fender, but let me see if I can get things rearranged and see if I can get this set up where you can see what I'm doing. When we start here, normally in the fender, there's a steel plate here that goes, from down here in the fender up to here. I think, well, no, it might not attach to the fender or to the bedside, but it screws in there, and I don't know why I didn't put it back in, but it's not in there. I took that out when I replaced the fuel pump module, which is right there, and I did that by unbolting the bed and then just jacking the bed up and switching that. But you can see that if that fitting up there is where I got to attach the line, and then here's the line I cut, and let's see. That might work. I'm going to go get my phone that's linked to the camera so I can see what the screen's showing. And that looks like that might work. Now this new line, the disconnect thing is a push button. And get in the right spot. Yeah. It has this little tab here you push. I'm going to start out with putting that up on the fuel pump module and making sure it locks. Okay, you hear the click? Okay. Now, I'm going to grab my razor blade. I'm going to take this old line and wipe it down and get some of the dirt off with my fingers. And I don't feel any other bite marks on it farther down here. But I'm just going to take my... Yep. I guess I should have took the dang wheel off. It made this easier, but I'm going to take my razor blade and cut that nylon tube. I'm going to grab the new one and kind of guess where I got to cut it and reach up there and see, follow it up. The direction I slid it up on there, put the lock thing not facing the right direction. So I could push the button and unlock it and then pull it off. And then I'm going to very carefully put it back up on there without locking it and remeasure where I want to cut. It's going to be right about there. I'm just going to pull that out of there and put it up against the tire. And I'm going to cut the excess off, so all I got left is this. And I'm going to push that into the connector and kind of lock it. Then I'll reach up here and Actually, I'll put that push tab up on top. And if I put my hand up there, I can't see, and I know you can't see, but line that up and lock it. And then I'm going to wet my fingers and get a little bit of spit on that tube so it slides in easier. And then push them together and pull hard and make sure they hold. And now I'm going to get my keys out and actually turn the truck on. Let me see the lights. Okay, got that pushed together. Now I'm going to turn the key on and cycle it a couple times and build pressure and then start the truck. Better move. There's one cycle, second cycle, third one. Now I'm going to come back here and look and make sure I don't see no fuel. And I don't. And I'm actually going to hold my phone since I still got the camera pointed that way. And so far, so good, because when you're looking at the screen there, that bed where the bed's bolted down, well, let's say from the filler neck around to where the bed's bolted down and the frame rail there below all the lines, that was what was all saturated, because that was squirting up and hitting almost where that cross member of the bed was welded to the floor of the bed. But from this angle, that looks good. And I get out here, you may not be able to hear for the exhaust of the truck. That's this is another thing you can use your GoPro for when you got it linked to your phone, is you can get it in places where your head won't fit the seat. But that looks good. I probably will carry the spare parts out of that kit with me, just in case I have a problem later. But yeah, I can see if need be. The other line in that kit is the return line, and the return line is bigger than the feed line. And then where it goes onto the fuel pump module is the 5/16 fitting on the module, but it's 3/8 hose coming back from the fuel rail. Okay, well, I was going to come back and add a little bit to my video, because Buddy came out last night, asked me how I got my Dodge fixed, because I told him about my fuel line. I was showing him what I bought, my line kit, which, where I bought this. I pulled it out, and he says, well, why didn't I use the piece that came with the kit? And for the piece that was going to snap up on the tank, probably would have been an easy to do, because I could have went in the house and probably took, like some vice grips or something, and clamped this with vice grips and held them both down in some hot boiling water and pushed them together. But I got a long ways you got to push that up in there. And if I'd have been where I could have heated the water and then immediately got the poly tube and pushed up on there, I probably would have. But because I was out in the driveway, it was going to be quite a jaunt to go from the boiling the water in the house, through the house, out the driveway, and out to the truck, and then put the hose, especially on the truck, down in the poly, because I'd probably had to have, had this in the other piece and had them both down in there, because I watched other videos online, and it seemed like that people would heat the line up, get pushed it on, and only get about halfway on before it'd cool off this line, and you couldn't push it no more. And like just trying to push it in there without it warmed up is very difficult. I mean, even right here where I can take and push it and actually use both hands on a lot of force. Um, which actually that's going better than I thought it would, but uh, I'm having to apply a lot of force and can't even push that all the way together. So instead of fighting that is why I opted for this. And my buddy said, well, to him that made sense. But yeah, if there was an easy way I could have warmed everything up, or even if I'd have had a heat gun where I could have, held it back and warmed it up, that would have helped out too. But I have a hair dryer, I don't have a heat gun. So, but yeah, that's why, without having a good way to heat this, being convenient with the truck, is why I opted for this. All right, well, I'm going to call that fixed. The fix was a lot quicker than figuring out what I needed to fix. I'm going to take and post my part numbers in the description section. And also, I bought this kit. You can buy these lines separately. And that's part of the reason I was going to buy just the line, but I'm glad I didn't buy it the way I thought, because if I'd have bought it what I thought, I'd have been getting it backwards. Because I don't know if the part number is even on here. Probably not, but no. But this should be. Well, let's not do should be. Let's go to Google. And if you don't like Google, you can use your iPhone, whatever's on there. I'm not an iPhone guy. I started out with Android, and when I did move to iPhone, I just didn't like it, so I went back to Android. So I think 800-054. Okay, so yeah. So the return line is 800-054 from Dorman. The one I used to fix this for the pressure line is an 800-055. If you buy these separate, you just get the line. If you buy them in this kit, you get both lines. You get the pipe fittings to union it together, and also a disconnect tool that you don't really need, because the original thing had the horseshoe clip, and the new one has the quick push thing to let you take it off. So I'm going to save that, but I don't need it. But if you want to, you could buy them individually and get just the the pressure or return line that you need based on size. And that's where I was looking at this. It says Ford, but I think Chrysler and Ford use these same fittings. I don't know about Chevrolet or foreign cars, because when I like a Nissan, you slide the hose over and it's got this special, high pressure fuel line clamp, so you don't need the any kind of special tools other than that hose is hard to slide off. I'm gonna call my Dodge good. I'm gonna put my extra stuff in the truck and leave it, and yeah, I think get off jack stands and take it for a test drive, see how it runs. That hey, I do appreciate you watching. That I do appreciate everybody out there that is subscribed to my channel. That when I checked earlier was, I think, 1,279. So thank you. And anybody else that watches this, if you're not a subscriber, better join on in, because there's no telling what else you're going to see on What's Broke Today. Thank you.